Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amira and I am from BM3. And today I will play role as the speaker one for the proposition team.
Greetings and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alia and I am from BM3, and I will play a role as a speaker number 2 in the proposition team.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sunita, and I'm from BM3. I'll play role as the speaker number 3 from the proposition team.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jin. From BM4, I am speaker 1 for the opposition team in today's debate.
Hello everyone, my name is Malia. I'm from BM4. I play role as speaker number 2 from the opposition team.
Hello everyone, my name is Kwan Soyun. I'm from BM4. I'm play role as speaker number 3, the opposition team.
Alright, good afternoon, everyone. So today we proudly stand as the proposition to support the motions that this House believe that it is better to communicate using music and art rather than spoken words. By presenting our argument, allow me to define the key terms. By music and art, we refer to form of non-verbal expressions and communicate emotion, thoughts, and intention without relying primarily on spoken language, or by better, we mean it is more effective in creating understanding, emotional connection, and mutual respect among individuals from different backgrounds. Our team strongly believes that nonverbal communication through music and art often surpasses spoken language because it transcends linguistic barriers, promotes empathy, and unites people regardless of their races, cultures, and disability. So our first argument will be centered on Mahesh, one of the main characters in Talent Time. So as we all know, Mahesh is speaking and hearing impaired. Because of his disability, spoken communication is often difficult for him. However, throughout the film itself, we can witness that music has become his language. From the movie, we can see that his emotion, sincerity, and affection are expressed not through the length of the conversation, but through musical performances and meaningful gestures. And one significant example that I could give is Mahesh's interaction with Malor. Although verbal communication between them is very limited, but their emotional bond grows stronger because they communicate through facial expressions, eye contact, handwritten messages, and music. And I am confident that this form of communications can eliminate all misunderstanding created by language differences and allow genuine emotion to flourish more. Therefore, this demonstrates that music and art possess a unique ability to communicate feelings more deeply than spoken word. While we acknowledge that spoken language is very useful in many situations, but clarity alone does not guarantee understanding. And that's why I believe that communication only successful when emotions and intentions are genuinely conveyed. Next, I think that music creates emotional connections beyond words. So throughout the talent time, music serves as a universal language that connects students from different ethnic and religious background. Through the talent time competition itself become a platform where participants express their identities and emotion through performances rather than through debates or conversations. Um, for for example, Malo's piano performance communicate her hope, vulnerability, and affection more powerfully than spoken dialogue ever could. Even audience members are able to understand her emotions simply by watching her perform. Yes?
Point of information, speaker.
Yes.
You claim that music become Mahesh's language and allow him to communicate effectively. However, it is more accurate to say that Mahesh actually relies on a combination of sign language, facial expression, and contents rather than music alone. So, how can you isolate music as the main form of communication in his case?
Thank you for your question. I understand your stance and allow me to clarify this that actually it is Malur, not Mahesh. And it is true that Malur also use sign language, expressions, and context. But however, our point is that music plays a central emotional role in expressing what words and even a sign language cannot fully capture. And in talent time, music amplifies her emotional expressions and allow others to feel her inner world more deeply. And this shows that music is not the only tool, but it is the most powerful medium in conveying her emotion. Furthermore, I reckon that music removes barriers created by language. As we all know, Malaysia is a multilingual society where people speak Malay, English, Tamil, Mandarin, and various dialects. Spoken words may divide individuals because not everyone shares the same language. However, music allows everyone to experience the same emotion regardless of their linguistic background. Therefore, the Talentine film clearly illustrates that music promotes empathy, inclusiveness, and unity. Next, I want to state that music play a very crucial role which it connects individuals from diverse cultures and language by creating emotional understanding that words sometimes fail to achieve. And I strongly believe that the opposition team may argue that spoken language is necessary for everyday communication, and the proposition team will respectfully agree that spoken language has a practical function. However, today's motions ask what is better in creating genuine human connections, and the evidence from talent time clearly shows that music and art touch people's heart more profoundly rather than spoken word. As we can see from the talent time film, Mahesh never really delivers a long speeches, yet the audience can understand his struggle, dreams, kindness, and love through his music, expressions, and actions. And in the end, his story reminds us that the most meaningful conversation often happen without speaking at all. So, right now, I want to state that music speaks when the words fail. So, for this reason, we firmly believe that communication through music and art is more powerful than communication through spoken word. We respectfully urge the House to support this motion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson, respected judges, member of the profession, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we the opposition firmly reject the motion that it's better to communicate using music and art than using spoken words. Before I present our case, let us first examine what the proposition has argued. The propositions claim that because Mahesh communicates through music, gestures, and sign language, music is therefore a better form of communication than spoken words. They also argue that music expresses emotions more deeply than language. Ladies and gentlemen, we respectfully disagree. The motion before this house is not asking whether music is beautiful or whether art can express emotions. We fully acknowledge that both music and arts have extraordinary emotional value. The real question is this: which form of communication is better overall? Communication is more than impressive. expressing emotions. It is about delivering ideas clearly, exchanging information accurately, asking questions, solving misunderstandings, making decisions, and ensuring that the intended message is understood. When we evaluate communication in its entirety, spoken language remains superior. Allow me now to our first argument. First argument, spoken word provide clarity and accuracy. As the saying goes, communication is the key to understanding. The primary purpose of communication is not simply to make people feel something. It is to ensure that message is communicated clearly and understood correctly. Spoken language allows us to explain ideas, ask questions, clarify misunderstandings, negotiate solutions, and receive immediate response. This level of clarity cannot always be achieved through music or art. In contrast, music and art are naturally open to interpretations. The same song may bring joy to one listener, but sadness to another. A painting may symbolize hope for one person, but loss for someone else. The subjectivity is precisely why music and art cannot consistently communicate precise information. The proposition used Mahesh as the Dia main example. Mahesh is deaf, so he communicates through sign language, facial expressions, and music. These methods allow him to express emotion, but throughout time, he still depends on spoken communication to others whenever complex information needs to be conveyed.
PLI speaker,
Yes?
you argue that Mahesh still depends on spoken communication for complex information. However, isn't that actually because society is not fully adapted to nonverbal communication system? If communication system were more inclusive, would the music and nonverbal forms be sufficient even for complex understanding?
Good question. Speaker 3. Thank you. Why? Why inclusivity is important? Communication must still be evaluated based on effectiveness in real world conditions. In reality, spoken language is the established system used for delivering precise, and complex information in society, including education, law, and emergency situations. Therefore, why nonverbal communication is powerful emotionally, spoken language remains essential for accuracy and clarity in complex communications. May I continue my argument? Below frequently speaks on his behalf when interacting with other people. If music alone were sufficient, why would this is necessary? Furthermore, Mahesh often relies on reading people lips to understand spoken conversation. In one memorable scene, he even shines a torchlight on his sister's face so he can't clearly read her lip in the dark. This scene clearly demonstrates that spoken communication remains essential even for someone who primarily use nonverbal communications. Another example can be seen during the talent time competitions is teacher explain the competition rules verbally, organizer announce rehearsal schedule verbally, judges provide comment verbally, and contestant receive instruction verbally. None of these important messages are communicated through music alone. Ladies and gentlemen, hear me clearly. I firmly stand by this proposition that we cannot communicate solely through music or art. The very fact I am using spoken words in this debate proves that language remains essential for idea with clarity. Member of the proposition, may I have your attention? I would like you to think about this. If you visit a hospital, would you expect your doctor to explain diagnosis through a song? If there is a fire, should emergency official perform a piece of music instead of giving a clear evacuation instructions? Of course not. Only spoken language provide the clarity, precision, emergency require, and situation where accuracy matters. Music may touch the heart, art may inspire the imagination, but spoken language ensure understanding. Therefore, while music and art certainly enrich human expressions, spoken words remain the most reliable and effective form of communication. With that, I conclude my argument and remain firm in the stance of opposition. Thank you.
Everyone. Our third argument is that music can express emotions more deeply than spoken words. I think it is widely accepted that words are useful for sharing information, but they often fail to capture complex emotions such as grief, sad, love, and hope. No matter how carefully we choose our words, sometimes they cannot fully express what we truly mean. So this is clearly shown through the character of Hafiz and Talentine. Throughout the film, Hafiz carries the heavy burden of emotion of knowing that his mother is seriously ill. So rather than constantly talking about his pain and emotion to others, he channels his feelings into musical performance during the talent time competition. When Hafiz sings, the audience does not need him to expand his sadness. Only his voice, his facial expression, and performance can communicate his grief, hope, and love more powerfully than a long conversation ever could. And the audience is able to feel his emotion simply by listening to his music.
Point of information, speaker.
Yes.
You claim that the audience understand Hafiz's sadness through his singing alone, but isn't possible that the audience only understands his emotions because they already know his personal situation. Such as his mother illness. Without that background knowledge, how can you prove that the music itself is the conveys the emotions?
Thank you, Speaker 1 of the opposition. To answer that, while background knowledge may enhance the understanding, the emotional impact of Hafiz's performance is still strongly expressed to his music itself. The tone, the rhythm, and the expression in his singing allow the audience to feel sadness and hope even before the full details are processed. So shows that music can communicate emotion directly, while the context only strengthens what is already being expressed through the performance. Now returning to my argument, this demonstrates that music has a unique ability to touch people's heart on a deeper emotional level. Unlike the spoken language, which may be limited by vocabulary or the language differences, music can communicate emotion in a way that is universal and understood by everyone, regardless of their background. Therefore, talent time also shows us that music is not merely an entertainment. It is a powerful form of communication that can connect people emotionally and allows them to understand feelings that words alone cannot express. So, for this reason, we strongly believe that music is a more meaningful and effective way of communication. For this reason, we strongly believe that music is a more meaningful and effective way of communicating emotion than spoken words. And our fourth argument is that music is a universal language that can bring people together despite differences in language, cultures, and background. Unlike the spoken language, music can communicate through the rhythm, melody, and emotion that allowing people to understand one and another even without words. In talent time, the students come from different ethnic groups and speak different language, including Malay, Tamil, English, and Mandarin. So, under these normal circumstances, this language difference could create misunderstanding, communication barriers, and even a social distance. However, during the talent time competition, these differences become less important because everyone is connected through music. Their common passion for music allows them to focus on their shared interests instead of their cultural differences. A clear example is relationship between Mahesh and Melo. Although Mahesh cannot communicate effectively through spoken language, Melo gradually understands his emotion through his facial expression, body language, and the music they share. So they develop trust and affection, not because they speak the same language, but because the music allows them to express feelings that words cannot fully describe. This shows that emotional connection can be stronger than verbal communication. Furthermore, the talent time competition itself serves a platform that unites students from different races, religions, and cultures. They all perform on the same stage, encourage one another, and appreciate each other's talents, regardless of the language spoken. Instead of judging based on their backgrounds, they celebrate creativity, teamwork, and mutual respect. This positive environment helps them build friendship that might never have existed without music. In addition, music also creates a sense of belonging. When people sing, perform, or even listen to the same song together, they can experience similar emotion such as happiness, excitement, hope, or comfort. This shared emotion can help break down prejudice and strengthen misunderstanding between individuals from different communities. So, in this way, music becomes a bridge that connects hearts when the spoken language may fail. So, this demonstrates that music has the power to unite people. By spoken language, sometimes create barriers. It can promote empathy, understanding, acceptance, and mutual respect among individuals from diverse backgrounds. Music also reminds us that despite our differences, we all share the same human emotion and expression. Therefore, talent time teaches us that music is not only a form or artistic expression, but also a universal language that can build a meaningful human connection beyond words. It can encourage unity, celebrates diversity, and proves that harmony is possible even in multicultural society. So for this reason, we firmly believe music is a more powerful and inclusive form of communication than spoken language. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. As a second speaker of the opposition, my role today is twofold. First, to rebut the argument presented by the proposition second speaker, and second, to strengthen our case by presenting our argument. The proposition claimed the music expresses emotion more deeply than spoken word, and that is the universal language capable of uniting people across culture. We, we do not deny the emotional power of music, but let us be clear. Emotional is not the same as understanding. Communication is only successful when the message is clearly understood, not merely felt. The profession used Hafiz as an example, saying his performance communication grief, hope, and love more efficiently than word. Yes, his performance is moving, but let us ask this. Did his song explain why his mother was seriously ill? Did it describe the decision he had to face? Did it revise the conversation within his family? The answer is no.
of the presentation speaker, you argue that music does not explain the full story behind Hafi's situation. However, isn't that true for spoken language as well? Even spoken words cannot fully express the complexity of emotions and personal experiences. So, why do hold the music to a higher standard of explanation than spoken communication?
Thank you. The difference is that spoken language has a ability to clarify when needed. If something is unclear, we can ask question, explain further, and receive precise answer. Music does not allow that level of direction clarification. That is why spoken communication remain more effective in ensure true understanding, especially in complex situations. Let me continue my speech. His music made people feel his pain, but it was spoken dialogue that made people understand his story, and that is that the key difference. Music touched the heart, spoken word explainability. The proposition also argued that music is universal language that unite people. Again, we agree, but only emotionally, not functionally. Because when society need to operate, emotional are not enough. People still need spoken language to give instruction, solve problem, negotiate, and make decision. Even in talent time, everything important happen through speech. For example, teacher explain rehearsal schedule verbally, organizer give introduction verbally, judges provide feedback verbally, contestant communicate before and after performance verbally. So, if music alone are sufficient, why does spoken communication still dominate every critical moment? The answer is simple. Music connect, but word function. This brings me to our second argument. Spoken communication is essential for solving problem. As this saying goes, where this is communication, this is understanding. Where this is understanding, this is a solution. Every day, spoken communication takes place in school, hospital, workplace, court, and public institution. Teacher explain lesson to student. Doctor discuss treatment plan with patient. Police officer issue instruction during emergency. Lawyer present argument in court. Parent guide and advise their children. In all these situations, effective communication is essential because people educate if safely and even life depend on the decisions that are made. While music provides emotional comfort and art may inspire creativity, they can replace spoken communication when people need immediate explanation, logical reasoning, and practical solution. The most important thing is communication is hiring what is it. While this reminds us to be sensitive to nonverbal cues, practical decisions still depend on spoken discussion, explanation, and understanding. This is illustrate in talent time. Hafiz struggled emotionally after learning about his mother's illness. Although music became a way to him express his feeling, it is his mother's spoken encouragement to give him strength to continue participating in the competition. Her word resolved his confidence. Her advice helped him an important decision. That demonstrates that spoken communication does more than express emotion. It provides guidance, reassure, and direction when people face difficult choice. Other example can be seen in the relationship between Malu and Mahesh. Music certainly bring them emotionally closer. However, their greatness challenge arise from culture expectation, family expectation, and society different. These are not problems that music alone can solve. They require honest conversation, explanation, mutual understanding, and thoughtful discussion. Probably cannot be solved at the same level of thinking that create them. Likewise, emotion expression alone cannot resolve misunderstanding. People must communicate, exchange ideas, and work together to find solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, music may comfort people during difficult moments. Art may inspire hope. But when people need guidance, negotiate different, resolve conflict, or make important decisions, they naturally depend on spoken communication. Without word, emotion may not Emotion may be understood, but solution remain incomplete. Real progress happens when people explain their thought, ask questions, clarify misunderstanding, and reach argument through meaning conversation. This is how families solve problems, leaders make decisions, and society move forward. This is why spoken language remain the most practical and indispensable tool for solving problems in every society. The probation has shown us that music and art can touch the heart. We agree. However, touch the heart is not the same as solving real life challenges. Communication must not express emotion. It must also deliver, clarify, understanding, and action. Therefore, from the reason present by our team today, this House should reject this motion. We firmly stand with the opposition because spoken communication remains the effective and reliable way to connect people, solve problems, and build a better society. That's all from me as speaker number 2. Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson, respected judges, worthy opponent, and ladies and gentlemen, as a speaker number 3, let me continue our debates today. My argument is nonverbal communication builds trust and emotional bond. Ladies and gentlemen, nonverbal communication plays a significant role in building trust because it reflects truly emotions that are often more honest than spoken words. So, in talent time, Mahesh and Milo developed their relationship not through a long conversation, but through eye contact, facial expression, body language, and sincere action. These nonverbal cues help them understand each other's feelings even without verbal expressions. One important aspect is silence. Instead of creating distance, silence between them becomes a space for emotional understanding. In many moments, their quiet presence together allow them to feel comfort, acceptance, and emotional security without needing to speak. This show that trust is not only built through words, but also through consistent action and emotional sincerity that can be felt without verbal communication. Therefore, nonverbal communication is powerful because it builds have emotional trust through authenticity and person rather than spoken language. My next argument is nonverbal communications have bridged cultural and communication barriers. Ladies and gentlemen, nonverbal communication is also important because it helps people overcome differences in language, culture, and ability. So, in talent time, Mahesh and Mlo come from different cultural backgrounds and communicate in different ways. Despite despite this, they are still able to understand each other through gestures, facial expression, and shared experiences.
Point of information, speaker.
Yes?
You argue that non-verbal communication help bridge culture and language barrier, but in real life, people don't still rely on translator or spoken language to fully understand each other. If non-verbal communication are truly sufficient, would spoken language become unnecessary in cross-culture communication?
Thank you for the question. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not saying spoken language is unnecessary in all situations. Our argument is that nonverbal communications plays a crucial role in creating initial understanding and emotional connections, especially when language is a barrier. In talent time, Mahesh and Melo are able to form a meaningful bond even before full verbal understanding exists. This shows that communication is not limited to spoken language, but can begin and develop through nonverbal cues and emotional interactions. May I continue my argument? This is especially important when spoken language become a barrier. Nonverbal communication allow individuals to express respect, kindness, and acceptance without needing perfect verbal fluency. It creates a common understanding even when words are not fully understood. These films show that despite the differences in a language and communication ability, people can still connect meaningfully when they are open to interpreting nonverbal cues. Therefore, nonverbal communication is not only about emotions, but also about bridging bridging differences and enabling understanding in diverse social interactions. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As the third speaker for the opposition, I will respond to the remaining argument from the proposition and conclude why this House must reject the motion. Ladies and gentlemen, the proposition has consistently shown us that music is emotional, expressive, and capable of creating strong human connection. We don't we do not deny that. Music is powerful. Art is meaningful. Nonverbal communication is expressive. However, the ability to express emotion is not the same as the ability to communicate effectively in all situations. Communication communication is not only about how deeply we feel, it is about how clearly we understand. Now, let us evaluate what the proposition has actually proven in this debate. They have shown that music can create emotional connection, but they have not proven that it can replace spoken communication in real life functions such as explaining, instruction, negotiating, or solving problems. This brings us to our final comparison. Music creates emotional connection but cannot replace spoken language. It is undeniable that music holds significant emotional power in time. One of the most memorable moments in the final competition, where performances deeply moved to the audience regardless of language or culture, sorry, cult- cult- cultural background. However, while music connect emotion, it does not replace the need of spoken communication, of organizing and understanding real life situation. After the performances, judges announce result verbally, organizer give instruction verbally, and participants interact through speech. This clearly shows that while music in engenders emotional experience, spoken language remains essential for structure, clarity, uh, I'm sorry, clarity and decision making. One of the central character, Mahesh, who is deaf, communicate communicate through sign language, facial expression, and music. These forms of communication are meaningful and expressive, yet the field also highlight their limitation.
Point of clarification, speaker. So you argue that Mahesh non-verbal communication has limitations and that he still relies on spoken cues like lip reading. So, however, it's not that a reflection of his specific condition rather than a limitation of non-verbal communication itself. if all communication systems were equally supported, would not non-verbal form be sufficient without needing spoken language as a reference?
Thank you for your question, Speaker 1. Although support system can help, in real life, spoken language is still widely used because it is clear and easy for everyone to understand. Non-verbal communication depends on situation and sometimes lead to misunderstanding. Therefore, spoken language is still important for clear and accurate communication. I will continue my argument. The best and most beautiful thing in world cannot be seen or even heard, but must be felt with the heart. However, even emotional expression has boundary when it comes to conveying precise meaning. Like Speaker 1 said, Mahesh often relies on lip reading to understand other, and in one scene he used a torchlight so that he can clearly read his sister lip in the dark. This shows that without spoken cues, communication become depend on condition and is not always reliable. In In another, in another scene, Mahesh does not fully understand Malo intended to express herself through gesture and music. This structure demonstrates that nonverbal communication alone cannot always guarantee clear understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, when misunderstanding occur, this is spoken communication that resolves them. When decision must be made, it is spoken communication that guide them. When interaction must be followed, it is spoken communication that ensure accuracy. Thus, while music and non-verbal communication build emotional connection, spoken language remains that foundation of daily human interaction. Let us now compare both sides clearly. The proposition has shown that music can move heart. The opposition has shown that spoken language can understanding, decision, and action. And in this debate, this side that provides clearly problem-solving ability and practical communication must prevail. In conclusion, Valentine does not suggest that music is superior to spoken words. Instead, it shows that while both are valuable, spoken communication remains the most practical, reliable, and essential form of human communication. Therefore, all of these reasons, we respectfully urge this House to reject the motion. Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson, respected judges, worthy opponents, and ladies and gentlemen. In conclusion, our team has clearly demonstrated that music and art are more powerful forms of communication than spoken words. Through Talentine, we have shown we have shown that music and nonverbal communication transcend language barriers, express emotion more deeply, build trust and empathy, and unite people from different cultures and backgrounds. The journey of Mahesh, Milor, and Hafiz prove that genuine understanding is not always achieved through words, but through emotions, actions, and artistic expressions. While spoken language is useful for conveying information, is it often limited by vocabulary, language differences, and misunderstanding. Music and art, however, speak directly to the human heart. They allow people to connect regardless of race, culture, religion, or ability, creating a deeper and more meaningful form of communication. As the famous saying goes, where words fail,
music speaks. This perfectly reflects the message of talent time that the strongest human connections are often formed not through speech, but through compassion, expression, and shared emotion. For all these reasons, we firmly believe that the communicating through music and art is better than communicating than spoken word. We respectfully urge the House to support this motion. Thank you.